Yeah.
OutOfPoket and TheTaurian. They faced off last weekend in Brazil.
No way.
And they made the trip out here to Sacramento, where they have found themselves in the losers finals. And I actually was talking to OutOfPoket before this matchup. He feels confident. He feels like his Araquanid gives him the advantage here. It's going to be up for the TheTaurian to try and cook something up to overcome maybe a slight disadvantage.
I think the TheTaurian circled, underlined, and added a lot of arrows to that Araquanid. He has got that Pokemon on his mind. Let's jump right into game number 1 of our losers finals. This is Shadow Kanto Marowak versus Galarian Moltres.
Starting in style with the shinies as Clodsire swaps in against this Galarian Moltres, and we are going to see a Sludge Bomb queued up immediately. We've mentioned before, a high-level play, right? You swap in, there's that 1-turn duration. You want to try to get that move off first if possible, get that attack off first to eliminate that 1-turn swapping.
Exactly right. Clodsire, one of the few Pokemon in the meta that can absorb a Brave Bird's worth of damage, but OutOfPoket has a decision to make. He's looking around. He decides to let it through.
Big Brave Bird connects. Galarian Moltres doing what it does best. And now the Sludge Bomb is caught and absorbed on the Dunsparce.
This is some solid chip damage into that Dunsparce. We've seen the rollouts are so heavily resisted by the Clodsire. It can stay in. It can get to another Sludge Bomb and continue to apply the pressure.
Rolling out is the Dunsparce, and this health is so low, but Clodsire is going to hang on to that energy for later as the shiny Kanto Marowak comes in.
You see what Pocket did there? He actually waited just a split second so that he could get the Mud Slap on the swap as well. High-level mechanics from this train on the left side of your screen, but he's going to eat a Drill Run here unless he uses his first shield of the game.
Second Drill Run going to leave Marowak quite low on the HP, but it's got quite a bit of energy as well. Looking to go for the Bone Club on the charge attack priority. Great counting from Pocket, and TheTaurian content letting the Dunsparce go down here.
This Shadow Kanto Marowak is definitely very weak. It might not even be able to get to the Rock Slide here against that Moltres. Oh, he's going to settle for the Bone Club. An early test of the TheTaurian's counting, and he is not to be fooled. He passes this exam with an A.
Double resisted. He studied for the test, and Bone Club is going to leave Moltres low, but Moltres has a lot of energy. It could get to a Brave Bird later on, and here comes the Araquanid. OutOfPoket feels like this is his MVP in this matchup, but right now it's in a very neutral situation against Drapion. If Drapion can get some debuffs, that could be critical.
This is so crucial. I actually really like this early shield from Pocket on that crunch. This is a Shadow Drapion. You're going to throw Bubble Beams, and usually the rule of thumb is to not shield the crunch until you're debuffed, but you need HP on this Araquanid. I really like this play.
That's a great point, Speedy, because with the Bubble Beam, you guarantee the attack fell. So you take your chances. If they don't get the debuff, now you can take a debuffed crunch as opposed to taking a non-debuffed crunch.
Yeah, full power crunch, right? We're gonna see the crunch connect. No debuff for Pocket. Remember, he's still got that Clodsire in the back. If he can take these shields away, he might be able to combo play with that Clodsire in just a moment.
Bubble Beam is queued up. You gotta start using those Protect Shields. The swap into the Moltres, a combo play. Ancient Power, super effective. Going to grab the Protect Shield from OutOfPoket.
This is a little bit tricky because the Bug Bites are going to be neutral against the Galarian Moltres. Can he get the full Bug Bite down? Look at Pocket and Araquanid absolutely devouring that Moltres.
But this is now in crunch range, and here comes the crunch. This is going to be really close, actually. Araquanid's a very bulky Pokemon. Is this crunch going to have enough to take it out? Araquanid goes down.
Araquanid faints. In comes a Clodsire. It's got the Sludge Bomb. You know, in real life, Rise, Scorpions usually get the better of Spiders, and here that happened exactly how you'd expect. Sludge Bomb getting Protect Shielded up. Now, this Clodsire's got no gas left in the tank. The TheTaurian takes game 1.
TheTaurian able to get a little bit momentum in his favor. He's dropped his previous 2 matches against OutOfPoket, one in this tournament, the previous one at LAIC last weekend, and now he gets a point on the board looking to advance in this series.
As a reminder to everybody, this is a best of 5 series. TheTaurian has that game 1 win, and like we talked about before the cast started, that Araquanid for OutOfPoket has been very, very strong. We saw it be instrumental there in his efforts to try to win this game number 1. Just kind of got a little overwhelmed towards the end, so I would look for Pocket to bring that Pokemon back and try to give it a better supporting cast.
Once again, the decision to shield the first crunch, although Pocket wasn't able to win this game, I think this is incredibly smart. Some trainers may have let the first one go because there's a chance of a debuff, but he understood, well, either way, I guarantee a potential debuff crunch I take, or I just cancel it out with my own debuff.
And look at the Taurian as well, switching out that Shadow Drapion so he can send it back in, get back to that full power crunch, and erase that Bubble Beam debuff.
OutOfPoket and TheTaurian, they've become familiar with each other at this point in time, many of which games between the two of them, and we look to have a lock-in for game number 2. Trainers getting ready once again. It's gonna be the Araquanid, but it's faced off against the rollout user, the Dunsparce.
This is a tough spot for Araquanid to be. OutOfPoket needs to get out of that matchup since in the Azumarill, a very neutral position to be in. Look at the backline here for the Taurian. It's double dark. I'm sure he is very happy to see Azumarill right here in the lead.
A bold, safe swap when you know there could potentially be a Superior back there, but fortunately for Pocket, no Superior in the back. In comes Drapion. Not the best counter for the Azumarill because it doesn't have that charge attack pressure, as we know, only has that fast attack pressure with the Poison Sting damage.
But I think that the chip and dip is also going to pay huge dividends. Poison Sting adding up, the new max out season buff gave additional damage to that fast attack. Now the crunches are going to start to rain in. Honestly, Rise, I don't hate this matchup as a Shadow Drapion player.
I don't either, especially if you're willing to commit Protect Shields, can make it really uncomfortable for the Azumarill. The ability to outpace it so significantly puts up that Protect Shield, and now you fully expect to see the Taurian overfarm, but Pocket's not going to let that happen. He's going to play aggressive, and he's going to pivot.
I think sometimes you just need to find the right spot for your Pokemon to succeed. Araquanid really going to struggle against that Dunsparce, so OutOfPoket trying to extract any value he can out of it, switching it in, but the defense fall on the crunch lines it up to get rolled out down here by the Dunsparce.
And it looks like these rollouts are now doing a little bit extra damage thanks to that debuff. The Rock Slide is queued up. This is going to deal super effective on the bug. It's bulky enough to hang on, but now you're in jeopardy of getting farmed down by the Dunsparce.
We're going to see the charge stack come through. Double water at play, but just the Bubble Beam bounces off of that Dunsparce. A little unfortunate because now the Dunsparce gets an additional rollout. And look at Taurian. He's letting the Bubble Beam come through. He tries to get a little bit more health reduction on his Dunsparce, but he allows another charge attack as a result.
Interesting decision. I guess it allows him maybe to delay the switch timer perhaps a little bit longer, so now he can throw this drill run and get out as opposed to giving OutOfPoket more energy to farm on the Clodsire.
And that's exactly what happens, going right into the Drapion. This Pokemon does have access to Aqua Tail, which can hurt that Clodsire quite a bit, but Pocket getting out of the situation, he's got Azumarill. Azumarill has barely any energy, he's trying to get to the Ice Beam, and look at this, it's going to reach it.
Gonna reach the Ice Beam, and now, after this Protect Shield is used, I think one fast attack might be enough to knock out. It's going to be close. Might need 2 Poison Stings, actually.
I think it's 2.
As the Aqua Tail is queued up, and OutOfPoket going to be forced to use a Protect Shield.
OutOfPoket hopes it's just 1 Poison Sting, but Drapion is a Poison type itself, and it hangs on, and you can see the kind of grimace there from OutOfPoket. He does not want to absorb an Aqua Tail, but he does not want to give up the shield either.
Super effective Aqua Tail taking a chunk of health from the Clodsire. Clodsire does have quite a bit of energy. Is double Sludge Bomb enough to knock out a Galarian Moltres? Let's gauge how much this first Sludge Bomb does. It puts it, no, not to 50%.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough, right? You need the Poison Sting damage, and meanwhile, the Galarian Moltres is gathering energy. There's still the Dunsparce lurking in the back, and the swap! Taurian sends out that Dunsparce to soak the Sludge Bomb.
Needs to maybe go for a slight undercharge, and that's what Pocket's going for. He needs to try and come out with a Sludge Bomb, but he doesn't undercharge quite enough.
Wait, hold on!
But here's another Sludge Bomb. It's going to be so close, Speedy.
Yeah, look at the HP bar in the Moltres. It's going to get hit with the Sludge Bomb. Safe type attack bonus. Clodsire trying to eke out a victory, and it's a knockout! Double simultaneous KO.
It is a tie here in game number 2. Double knockouts. Unbelievable finish. And in case you're unaware, because ties are rare in this game, when it is a knockout of each player's last Pokemon, it's almost as if the game never happened. The tie doesn't go to either trainer, so we will essentially be replaying a game number 2.
We were talking about track and field backstage. I mean, you want to call this a warm-up, but this feels like a sprint, Rise. I mean, you didn't get any point either way for that game, but it takes a lot of effort, a lot of mental energy to play against a trainer like OutOfPoket, like the Taurian. That was awesome. And we're going to have potentially up to 4 more games to be played, so stay tuned.
OutOfPoket, you know, it seemed like he was behind most of that match, so although it's a tie, he may be feeling pretty good about sneaking away with a tie, getting a chance to do that one over. And this is a pretty quick lock-in for this game number 2, as it's going to be Shiny Shadow Kanto Marowak against Shadow Feraligatr.
OutOfPoket is desperately trying to line up this Marowak against that Drapion, but the Taurian is just not giving him the matchup he wants, so he's forcing this uncomfortable situation against the Shadow Feraligatr. But we've also seen Pocket maneuver his way through this matchup before against previous opponents.
Correct. A few times this weekend, we've seen this lead matchup where the Kanto Marowak is able to utilize those Protect Shields just to brute force its way, to mud slap through the Shadow Feraligatr, a ground type with the power to take down this water type.
You see the single Shadow Claw converted into the Hydro Cannon. Meanwhile, this Shadow Kanto Marowak needs to shield everything coming from this Feraligatr. Do we see a switch out though from the Taurian? Yes. He goes into what?
Oh.
He goes into Drapion.
You don't see this often, and a perplexed look on Pocket's face, but once you peel both Protect Shields, thanks to the Shadow Claw damage, it is an Aqua Tail range, so OutOfPoket is now going to swap in the Sand Slash, and all shields are gone, so this Drapion's extremely vulnerable to the Drill Run.
I think Pocket is trying to call maybe the Glaring Moltres in the back. He doesn't know that it's the Dunsparce, and at this point, this is going to be tough. I mean, the Sand Slash is going to land the Drill Run here, but I don't know how you deal with that Dunsparce in the back from the Taurian.
The Drill Run here should be enough to knock out the Drapion, but keep in mind this Alolan Sand Slash is debuffed, and you're going to have to expend energy if the Feraligatr comes in. You cannot farm it down with Powder Snow damage, but we're actually going to see Dunsparce come in. It's going to start getting a head start on energy. OutOfPoket desperately needs some chip damage here to try and handle this Dunsparce. I
like this a lot, actually, for Pocket. If you look at the board position right now, he's going to throw the Drill Run. Yes, he's probably going to lose the Sand Slash here, but he can freely bring in the Marowak and then corner that Feraligatr with his Araquanid later. Let's see if that's what he decides to do.
Also, the Marowak is not yet in Drill Run range, so even if this Dunsparce is able to connect on a Drill Run, Marowak should be able to get off the Bone Club here. And if you're OutOfPoket, you know that the catch is available, so you may be content just throwing the Bone Club, even though you know the catch is possible. But no, he calls it! He calls the catch, saves the Bone Club, and is going to fully farm down this Feraligatr.
Wow, those instincts are on point. Pocket switching out, not giving up that vital energy into the weakened Feraligatr. Hydro Cannon bounces off of Araquanid, and the Bubble Spider chews its way through that Feraligatr.
Read him like a book, and now we're going to see the Water Pulse queued up. Should be about enough to knock out the Dunsparce from this range. OutOfPoket with some nice maneuvering, going to even up this series 1 game apiece.
That's so impressive. That's so impressive from OutOfPoket to find a way out of a tricky situation. I think it all comes down to his awareness and his knowledge of how to play that Shadow Kanto Marowak into Feraligatr matchup. As you saw, he applied so much pressure to the Taurian, forcing the swap out, forcing that Drapion out. He wanted it in the lead, Rise, but getting it on the swap ain't half bad.
OutOfPoket is such a clever player. I feel like one thing that separates him from very good to one of the best is his ability to anticipate what his opponents are going to do, and we saw a perfect showcase in that end game, calling the swap, calling the catch attempt, and just set him up in a great position. Didn't fall for a potential win condition for the Taurian.
I really appreciate what you pointed out there as well. That Dunsparce Drill Run was never going to be enough to KO that Shadow Kanto Marowak either. So it just speaks volumes about Pocket's ability to manage HP on this Pokemon and be so aware of the damage calculations that he's going to encounter later on in the match.
OutOfPoket, I think, has a nice balance in his play style of taking risks, but also playing with safe lines. And I feel like I've seen multiple times this tournament leading the Kanto Marowak into the Feraligatr, and it seems like he's usually able to take command, take control in what some people may consider a negative lead. He has a formula to try and navigate that situation.
And it's really counterintuitive, right? You look at the typing matchup, you look at the pacing, and you say, oh, based on those two things, I think that this Shadow Kanto Marowak is in trouble, but it takes a special trainer to look one layer deeper into the shooting scenarios, deeper into that matchup in terms of fast attack, charge attack, pressure. Going to this next game though, Rise, what do you expect from each player in terms of the Pokemon picked?
I think the Taurian has to find a way to really neutralize that Araquanid. It seems like the biggest threat, and here we go. Game number 3, positively for OutOfPoket, Sand Slash into the Drapion.
Oh, and the instant swap into the Feraligatr, and we see these Shadow Kento Marowak rise. What about this? We saw in the lead, we just talked about how tough it can be, but Pocket says, no, give me this matchup any day of the week. As
the counter swap as well, is there any way with that one Shadow Claw head start, the Taurian could potentially get to 3 Hydro Cannons in this matchup? I think it's possible. Here we go, first Bone Club coming through. It's gonna come down to whether 3 Mud Slaps knocks out from this range, I believe.
That's a great point. I mean, we're gonna see Feraligatr gets that single Shadow Claw into Hydro Cannon conversion. It's gonna pull away that final protection from Out of Pocket. But at this position though, I think 2 Mud Slaps might be enough, Rise.
First Mud Slap coming through.
Oh!
Is gonna need to get to the third, and it's gonna be close. Doesn't get the Hydro Cannon though.
Wow, clutch play by Out of Pocket. Now he's got the Galarian Moltres on the field, and now that he's got energy, he can fight back. Ground-type Pokemon usually struggle against the flying types, but now Shadow Kento Marowak is armed and ready.
A quick shake of the head in distress from the Taurian because he understands that this Marowak is gonna get to double Rock Slide. So although the Feraligatr pulled the shield advantage, you're getting the shield advantage right back. Pulls the shield from the Moltres and a quick swap into the Sand Slash.
Look at the pressure. Look at Out of Pocket. He is not sticking around. He is not staying put, constantly on his feet. Sand Slash comes out here to face off against that Galarian Moltres. Absorbs Ancient Power, no problem. In comes the Drapion, gets the energy lead, and here comes the Drill Run.
No room to breathe. Superior is on the Taurian squad, but Out of Pocket right now, suffocating with this pressure. The quick swap, Drill Run connects onto the Drapion, and Taurian's gonna try and overfarm to the best of his ability here, going for the Aqua Tail because he doesn't feel like one crunch is enough, so I think he's going for the double Aqua Tail.
And I'll tell you what, if this was a Shadow Alolan Sand Slash, the crunch would have been enough, but this selection, this decision Out of Pocket made forces the double Aqua Tails out of the Shadow Drapion and really just nails down this matchup for him.
Drapion had to expend so much energy just to get rid of that amount of health, and this game here looks to be all but over. I mean, Out of Pocket is got that really healthy Azumarill, right? Just can simply bubble down, maybe throw a charge attack, and goes for a little bit of a flex with the catch attempt, but understands that this one is over. Out of Pocket taking game number 3.
Yeah, I really think the Taurian was hoping for that Araquanid in the back. He says, you know what? If that third Pokemon is Araquanid, let me Brave Bird it, see if I can Sucker Punch it down, and then just make quick work of that Shadow Kento Marowak, but he did not get his wish. So this series has already been a real testament to both trainers' skill and endurance. We had game 1 to the Taurian, then the tie, and now Out of Pocket has won 2 games straight in this series. He needs 1 more for that rematch with SJ.
2-1 advantage. Dropped the first game, has won now 2 in a row, so the momentum has swung back in Out of Pocket's favor. This has been the storyline in this series, right? The Marowak versus Feraligatr matchup that Pocket has been able to really maneuver well. And one thing that, it sounds simple, but is so pivotal, so big in Pokemon Go PvP is the ability to react quickly on the swap.
Yes.
And Pocket only gave a 1 Shadow Claw head start. He was very quick to react. If he gives a 2 Shadow Claw head start, that could be the difference in that game.
I think you're exactly right. We saw the Feraligatr load the Hydro Cannon just as the Mud Slap connected. It's a half-second inflection point where you could win or lose, and it could happen at any moment. So these trainers are always on their toes, always operating at peak efficiency. One of our players is already locked in for game number 3. Honestly, if Taurian loses, he's out of the tournament. This is a very big moment for him.
A big moment indeed, a big moment for both players. The Taurian has won a special event in Puerto Rico before, but this is the furthest he's ever gone in a North American regional tournament. Here we go, and it's the lead he needed to stay in this. Superior into Azumarill.
I mean, there's no positive side of that for Out of Pocket, right? He's got to get out, he's got to escape. He's going right into the Araquanid. We can see the Frenzy Plant, which, believe it or not, is going to deal a sizable amount of damage. This is a bug, but also a water-type Araquanid.
Yeah, you may be wondering why not the super effective Aerial Ace, but Frenzy Plant is such a heavy-hitting move, is actually the more efficient move there to go with, the more efficient attack, as we see the Araquanid now going to throw the Water Pulse, I believe, at the Moltres.
Yeah, Water Pulse will connect into the Moltres. Not a big deal, but the Bug Bites are slowly adding up. If this Araquanid sticks around, it might get to the Bubble Beam, and the Taurian does not want to take another charge attack. He's going to manage his HP, throw the Ancient Power.
Ancient Power should be enough to knock out the Araquanid here, and Out of Pocket has two options to come in with, but he understands that this Azumarill lined up against Superior is not of much use to him, so he's going to go for a big farm down. I suspect the no shield. He knows the Brave Bird's going to hit hard, but he knows it's lined up against Superior anyway. He's going to cut his losses. How can you manage the Superior if you're out of pocket? Maybe with some Ice Beam energy. Yeah,
I think you're exactly right. He keeps the Sand Slash in the back as well, just in case that Shadow Drapion or the Kanto Marowak is that third Pokemon for the Taurian. Firing the Ice Beam here, Rise. I expect right after this, we're going to get a swap into the Sand Slash.
Ice Beam is super effective, but not enough to knock out the bulky Superior. Out of pocket actually staying in. Understands he gets to the second Ice Beam before the Frenzy Plant. So this does pull a Protect Shield and maybe opens up a potential win condition for out of pocket.
This is really clever. He goes into the Sand Slash, and now the Superior with a decision to make. The Taurian throws the energy. Was that a mistake?
I don't know. The Frenzy Plant, if it grabs a shield, it could be useful, but it doesn't. Out of pocket understands it's resisted damage, and now this is a very tough matchup for the Sand Slash, but you are up a Protect Shield. Is it enough to flip this matchup? I'm not sure.
Risky a position to be in if you want to bait. Out of pocket, go straight for the drill run, the harder hitting charge attack. At this point, the Shadow for Alligator needs 3 Hydrocans. It needs to break 2 shields and land one into that Sand Slash. Is there any world, Rise, where we can see a Shadow Claw down, though?
I think that's what the Taurian is going for. Is the switch timer close to being available for Pocket? No, it's not. And if he can get the Shadow Claw down in 5 Shadow Claws, he gets it. He's got so much energy here on the Feraligatr. I think he might even get to triple Hydro Cannon before this Azumarill can take it out.
If the Azumarill can load an Ice Beam here, right? Load an Ice Beam in the matchup and throw it against the Superior, he might have a chance, but these stripping shields left and right, that Superior is going to come out any second. Out of pocket might be out of time.
The sheer power of the Feraligatr and actually going to swap quickly into the Superior, not giving Pocket any room to overfarm, and this Aerial Ace is going to deliver the final blow to Azumarill. The Taurian is sending this series to a decisive game number 5.
The Taurian Shadow Feraligatr roars him back into this series, tying it up. We've already played 5 games, believe it or not, Rise. We're heading into that fabled game 6 of our losers finals here in Sacramento.
The storied game 6. I think it's happened a few times in Championship Series history, and we have one yet again. Taurian, Out of Poket. Have they met their match? We are seeing these trainers tested to their limits. This is where your creativity is tested. You've played each other so many times. You start to get a feel for each other's lines, and now you got to try and find a way to pull some magic for one decisive game.
One of our trainers has already locked in their team. They're putting it all on the table. The next 3.5 minutes will tell us exactly who is going to face SJ in the finals. Will it be Out of Poket or the Taurian?
You see different styles, like we've mentioned, different mentalities, and the speed at which some players lock in, the speed at which some players take their time to muster over all their strategies. I don't think there's one correct way. I think sometimes you have a gut feeling in your heart. You go with that. Sometimes it may be more beneficial to think over, what do I want to run here? And we are seeing the Taurian and Out of Poket gear up for this game number 5.
I don't think we need to wait much longer, Rise. These trainers have an idea of what they want to do. They've looked over the team sheets. Like you said, they've gotten a feel for each other's approach to the game. We have a lock-in on both sides. Game 5, losers finals, Out of Poket and the Taurian.
In this decisive game number 5, here we go, and it's a positive lead for Out of Poket. Azumarill into Marowak.
Oh, the instant swap into the Dunsparce, met by the Shadow Kanto Marowak from Out of Poket. Right now, so far, everything is falling into place for Pocket.
All the pieces of the puzzle are aligning in Out of Poket's favor. But don't be fooled. Dunsparce can potentially pull a shield advantage here in this matchup. We'll see if it's able to do so. It's going to be a charge attack priority here. Now, if you're Out of Poket, you might hang on to the drill. We're going to see the Bone Club connect onto the Dunsparce. You could potentially hang on to this drill run, but it might give the Taurian an opportunity to shield and roll out down.
Yeah, which would be really tricky. Pocket does not want to risk it. He's going to go ahead and use his first Protect Shield of the matchup. That actually means he can likely Mud Slap this Dunsparce all the way down, because this Dunsparce is on the 4 cycle, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
So much energy for this Marowak, and not a whole lot of places to absorb it. Going to be coming in with his own Marowak, but 2 Bone Clubs is going to do a sizable amount of damage. The first Bone Club doing nearly half health, and Pocket actually giving up the switch advantage. How risky was that?
Honestly, I like this a lot. If the third Pokemon for the Taurian is that Shadow Drapion, he needs to be ready for it. So OutOfPoket is still playing with the information that he currently has. He has not seen the Moltres in the back, and here it comes into a weakened Azumarill, but he's got the Ice Beam locked and loaded.
Moltres swapped in, but that chip damage inflicted upon the Azumarill might be enough to put it within Brave Bird range. Could this open up any sort of play for the Taurian? I'm not sure. I think he's still behind, but now you can play with this energy, putting up the final Protect Shield already as he's looking to build up more and more energy with the Moltres.
Again, for the second time in a row, Pocket clinches the Ice Beam before the charge attack is ready. Rise, it could be the Brave Bird, it could be the Ancient Power. OutOfPoket lets it through regardless.
Brave Bird is going to be enough to knock out the Azumarill. OutOfPoket still has a Shield to High Pine and the Sand Slash. This Moltres is debuffed, going for a parting Brave Bird to threaten the Sand Slash before it goes down, and the Taurian is going to be forced to pivot out here.
This steel type Alolan Sand Slash will bend, but it will not break. Here comes that Shadow Kanto Marowak, throwing the Ice Punch into it. I think the Pocket has a clear avenue to success. The Taurian is in trouble.
Ice Punch knocks out the Marowak. Moltres comes back. The Powder Snows keeping pace with the Sucker Punches and gonna deliver a Rock Slide here. And this Rock Slide is gonna be enough to knock out Moltres. OutOfPoket is looking for revenge against SJ onto the Grand Finals.
Signed, sealed, and delivered. Pocket notches a Game 5 victory against the TheTaurian22, one of the most impressive trainers we've seen this weekend in Sacramento.